Professor Patrick Bond, the Director of the Centre for Social Change at the University of Johannesburg, joins us for more. Prof, good evening and welcome. Given the anger that this has generated in the country, people are saying things like, this is why people are losing their homes because of high interest rates. These are the effects of this kind of action. Help us make sense of the issues and the effect of these actions.
Well, it's great to be with you, Iman. And indeed, it's the era of the pitchfork, right? That famous metaphor of the bankers being burned at the stake, because really they've been caught. And when you think of the framing that they used when they were doing this manipulation, the chat room and the Bloomberg business service that they used to arrange these trades, the chat room was called ZAR Domination, Z-A-R, Rand Domination.
Wow.
And the evidence was piling up. Yeah, no, this is such shocking material of, these, let's say, hyperactive young professionals, I must say, using race and class analysis. They're white boys, right? And so you really find, nearly all of them, you really find these banks needing to clamp down on the rampant illegality, and our regulators needing to wake up because they've been asleep at the wheel. So this is the time, I think, for widespread reform. And it's so good to see the African National Congress, because really it's their finance minister, it's their Reserve Bank governor that I think we could turn to ultimately for the blame.
Yeah, I want to come back to the effects, but as you say, this is the ANC, and we've just shared their response, but they are a government. If they're calling for stricter punishments, make the stricter punishments happen. I remember years ago when these first stories started to emerge, and people were kind of hauled over the coals or suffered personally for whistleblowing on this. There were utterances from the finance minister at the time, basically poo-pooing this. And now we're seeing the evidence and the chickens, so it were, as it were, coming home to roost. People are gaslit when they raise these questions.
Yes, that's right. To the credit of the economic freedom fighters, to say sort of there's a left flank in the parliament, they did raise this in March 2019, not long after the same Standard Chartered Bank was fined $40 million, not 43 million rand, but about 15 times more in the New York State prosecution for the same crime. So we're really still in the Competition Commission lowballing the damage. And I think when the EFF said this in March 2019 in Parliament, the reply from Finance Minister Tito Mboweni was just as you said. He poo-pooed it. He said, no, this isn't really serious. And if anybody's hurt, it's simply their clients. We don't really care. So let's say the laxity in regulation in the Reserve Bank and the Treasury now comes home to roost. And we were, grey-listed in February, partly for this very slovenliness by our bank regulators.
Okay, so grey listing, partly in the story here. We should definitely get the former finance minister on to talk to us and share why he said what he said then and what he says now. But let's go back, Patrick, to the effects. I mean, does this have the effect, does it affect things like interest rates and people losing their homes and their assets and things?
Yes, absolutely, because at the very same time we've seen deregulatory, let's say, bank supervision and regulation in the Reserve Bank, the Treasury, even the Financial Intelligence Center, which at the time in 2019 had been reporting up to 7% of GDP gets lost through illicit financial flow. So there's no question there's a huge problem with corporate crime. PwC ranks South Africa #1 in the world for corporate fraud and crime, money laundering, the illicit financial flows during their 2010s economic crime and fraud biannual survey. So you can really see that our Sandton, Rosebank, Midrand, Umhlanga, Stellenbosch, Central Cape Town lads have gone too far. They're wilding, and now this is the time to rein them in. And I do think that the Treasury over time has also deregulated. Even the current finance minister, Enoch Godongwana, about a year and a half ago, allowed 4 trillion rand in our financial assets held in our insurance companies, our mutual funds, our investment trusts, our institutional investors to take money out, 4 trillion, by relaxing exchange controls. That's exactly the wrong way to go. And as you asked, what about these high interest rates? That comes with loosened exchange controls, because money can flow in and out with much less friction. Mm-hmm. We need to actually put some sand in the wheels of finance. As John Maynard Keynes once put it, we need to really slow down finance and make sure that the deals are rigorous and honest, not the kind of scamming that is now being unveiled.
Well, maybe the pitchforks that you talked about at the beginning of our interview are justified, and maybe something worse than pitchforks. In fact, given what you've laid out for us tonight, and there's a lot that we can do in bringing these role players to a platform like the SABC to talk to the nation directly and to give account. Here's the issue, though. Mohale Mokhlala, who's the head of cartels at the Competition Commission, was saying, in terms of quantifying this, that is a work in progress, because these trades are done, as you say, in those chat rooms, whether it's Bloomberg or Reuters, those are the platforms he quoted, and they do it for, short periods of time. It may cover a certain amount of trade, not all trades, so it's very hard to quantify. But given your analysis, everything you've heard now, explaining this, what do you think is a reliable number we can put our fingers on in terms of the real cost to South Africa?
Oh, well, look, I would only want to quote some rigorous forensic investigator. That's beyond my capacity. But R1 trillion a day is being traded. And I think it is quite critical to come to grips with, let's say, the reparations that should be due. And it could include something like a nationalized bank, which could then be like a municipal or, public service, a utility, the sort of thing that all of us could go to with confidence that our money is being circulated locally and savings and loans are regulated. And the old system. That's, I think, what we need to go back to, more rational than the current Wild West.
Again, just a number. I mean, is it, how forensically would we be able to put out, our fingers on a number?
Well, look, I would add to it all the other illicit financial flows where so much escapes this country. And there, again, I'll use the Financial Intelligence Center of the Treasury. 7% of GDP a year is what they feared. For some investigators, it could well be more, because so much of it is hidden away. And even President Ramaphosa found a way to do that when he was at Lonmin by setting up a Bermuda marketing wing. So I think we do have a huge problem, and it's time to clamp down.
I've got to let you go, but what question should we ask the SAB then? What question would you ask the SAB?
Well, I would say the South African Reserve Bank should, as a privately owned, not a state entity, should be asking really serious conflict of interest questions, because the institutions that own them are the very banks that they've been nudge, nudge, wink, wink on illicit financial flows. It's really time to think about, I think, nationalizing the Reserve Bank, just like every other civilized economy has a Reserve Bank that can serve the public interest, not just the private banks.
Patrick Von, thank you for talking to us tonight, the Director for the Centre of Social Change at the University of Johannesburg. Thank you.